The following is a Castwave Studios production.
Hello all and welcome to another episode of Impromptu Who. Remember kids, doesn't matter if you like the old or the new, it's Impromptu Who. Mm-hmm. And I am so happy, so thrilled once again to be joined by my wonderful, delicious, coquettish host, Brian Massey. Brian, say hello to the kids.
Coquettish?
You know, coquettish ingenue.
You're saying words that I don't understand, but I'm flattered by them.
Aww.
Yes, hi everybody, how's it going? It's Brian Massey, and I'm here today to talk with Colin, my ginger friend of many years, who I consider a brother.
Aww.
To talk about the Doctor Who episode Hyde? I think
that is correct. It is Hyde.
Why did I want to call it Boo's Spooky House or something?
I mean, because realistically, that is a very apt description of what the episode is. Either that or just fuck already.
Like just a quick aside. I'm not gonna go on this too long. Do you remember that AVGN episode where he's talking about the Freddy Krueger game?
Yep.
And he's like, there's all these like ghosts and zombies and shit, and it's like there's nothing to do with Freddy. It might as well have just been called Boo Haunted House.
Yeah.
That's kind of how this felt.
Yeah, pretty much.
So,
I mean, I remember at the end of our last episode, we had just barely survived our slog through the first series with John Pertwee. Yeah. And we were so drained because we were like, I remember as a younger person enjoying like John Pertwee's work. And it's not like John Pertwee was bad.
Oh, by no means.
Yeah, it's just those episodes were such a slog. And I will say this much, upon further research, it turns out that, like, those were, like, the longest serials of Classic Who era.
Okay, well, that's... Okay, so, wow. Okay, we got that done, and, like, we got the worst out of the way, then.
Yeah, we lucked out with that.
Okay, well, that's good.
So, but I remember at the end of the last episode, you were so genuinely excited that we were doing a new Who episode.
Yeah.
And now, having watched a new Who episode in Hyde, I don't know. It just seems like we're falling right back into old patterns.
Can I ask a question, by the way, too, about
Sure.
this fucking title?
Sure.
What were they hiding from? Nobody hid the entire episode.
Honestly, it's funny you mention that because quite literally, the Doctor literally says, "Oh, you're hiding." I'm like, all right. Gift bags at the door. He said the title. I was, again, it's not a great episode, if I'm being honest.
Which we will explain why here in this
Well, yeah, we'll explain momentarily. So, kids, strap yourself in. It's a bad one.
Yeah.
This is Doctor Who 2005, Series 7, Episode 9, titled Hyde.
Which came out in 2013.
Yes, the episode description is very apt. Something terrifying is hiding in Caliburn House, and the Doctor finds himself part of the ghost hunt. Ooh. Alright, so our cast of characters, Matt Smith is the 11th Doctor. Clara Oswald. This is actually the first episode that Jenna Coleman filmed.
Okay.
I don't think it was the first... Categorically, I don't think it was the first episode screened,
Wait,
but
hold on.
this is the first episode she shot.
Like including the snowman?
I have
Are
to
we
look at
counting
that.
the specials in that?
Maybe as that particular character.
Okay.
As Clara Oswald.
Not as that.
Not as
like
governess Clara Oswald, but like the current iteration of Clara
the
Oswald.
current one that would go on to hang out with,
Yes.
12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
You have to make that distinction.
yeah. Sorry, no, you're right. You're right.
Because, well, no, it's not you. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. Time travel be like that.
Time travel do be like that.
There's a T-shirt. Time travel be like that.
Yeah.
So companions, Clara Oswald, Professor Palmer, who was played by Doug Ray Scott, which I didn't realize until 10 minutes into the episode. I was like, wait a minute. Is that dude that Tom Cruise fucked up in Mission Impossible 2?
Can I tell you something real fast?
What's that?
I never saw that movie.
No, really?
I never... Like, the only thing I know about that movie is that Limp Bizkit did a, music video for it.
Yeah.
That's literally...
They basically did their version of the Mission Impossible theme song.
Yeah! Anyways.
Yeah, pretty much. Emma Grayling, who plays Jessica Raine, who plays Emma Grayling, our heroine in this game. I mean, in this episode, really good. I was genuinely, I think probably the strongest acting performance, even though the character was a little one note.
Sure.
But I mean, again, great actor.
She was meek, timid, just a little on the horny side, but didn't really stray too far away from that.
I mean, again, this is set in the 70s, so obviously, she didn't go ultra horny.
Sure.
I mean, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get that.
The whole women's lib thing, at least in America, was happening. I don't know about Britain.
No. Yeah. They're far too proper for that. Yeah. And then we have Kemi Bo Jacobs as Gila. Oh God, what was the last name?
Fuck if I know.
Hang on, I remember. It's Gila Takorian.
That sounds
whoever wrote this probably went online and went to sci-fi name generator.com and fucking
what does Takorian sound like? That sounds like either, I don't know if that sounds more like a Star Wars name or like a Babylon 5 name, or I don't know.
I don't know.
Gila Takorian sounds like a political title in the prequel trilogy. I'm sorry. It just
that's actually pretty accurate, if I'm being honest.
This episode, we haven't even gotten into it yet, and I've already mentioned Star Wars.
Yeah, I know.
Star Trek.
We're already taking the piss.
Limp Bizkit.
I know. We're already taking the piss out of this episode. So
I'm all over the goddamn place already. We're not even 10 minutes in. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So the Doctor and Clara arrive at a supposedly haunted mansion where they find a ghost hunter and psychic who are on the search for a legendary ghost known as the Witch of the Well. And I'll say this much. Within the first 5 minutes, you see ghosts. You see 70s era. It definitely feels like a better funded version of a Ghost Hunter television series.
Sure.
And then out of nowhere you hear knocking and you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And then the Doctor and Clara pop up and drop a pop culture quip on us.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, I can get into this. I liked it.
Sure.
Ghostbusters.
Even if Ghostbusters wouldn't come out for another decade, but
yeah. 13 years? Oh, no. 10 years. Literally 10 years. Yeah, a decade. Because this was 70. This particular episode is set in 1974. Ghostbusters came out in 84. So yeah, that's a decade. So it's 1974. Professor Alec Palmer and his assistant Emma Grayling are attempting to collect photographic evidence of a ghost in Caliburn House. Now, Professor Palmer is your general sort of strong, stoic type. And Emma is this sort of shy, reserved assistant, which is usually code for they gonna fuck.
Pretty much.
In fact, honestly, like I said in the introduction of this particular episode, the subtitle for this episode could literally be just fuck already.
Yes.
Because literally every interaction between the two of them is just furtive glances. It's gonna happen. Just get to it already, right? But of course, it being a British television series, they don't even kiss. Just, by the end of it, I think the most we get is a sort of
half-assed embrace.
A half-assed embrace followed by a declaration of, oh, my feelings. And I'm just like, okay.
All right.
Sure, I guess. Anyway, so obviously they see this ghost. Emma is overtaken by said ghost, collapses. The professor catches her, and they're trying to collect themselves when suddenly we hear a knock, knock, knocking at the door, and Doctor and Clara arrive, and they claim to be from military intelligence. Again, the Doctor, being a time traveler, has sort of first-hand knowledge of the situation, and is basically, bullshitting his way through to convince the good professor that he is being sent from the government. Again, having experience with many facets of the British government in his earlier dealings with UNIT. So, the Doctor is showing interest in the ghost, and then I just want to say that, the entirety, I would say, the first 2/3 of this episode is them, talking about how, this ghost is, showing up on the property, but they can't quite figure out why the ghost is here, why they're haunting this house in particular, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, we learn through Emma, Emma, the assistant, that Emma is an empath, who's an empath, a psychic. She's basically using her connection with this ghost. She's using her psychic powers to sort of summon the ghost to ascertain that information. And it helps, you see her connect with the ghost. But again, it really only happens in, the brief flash of a ghost in order for the Doctor to take photos. Or later on, a spinning mirror. That's really all we get of a ghost presence. Or the words "help me" being scrawled on the wall in ectoplasm, I assume.
Ectoplasm.
See, that's the thing. They don't quantify what that shit is.
Yeah.
It's it's not blood. It's not water. It just looks like ghost goop.
It was a spooky ghost.
It's a spooky ghost. It's ghost jizz.
Sean was talking about how the weird little spherical thing that was floating in the air looked like it was out of Looney Tunes, like an Acme product or something. It was. I was like, okay.
No, I mean, it's not. He's not wrong. And, they don't really sort of give any. And so the Doctor goes on this whole subplot where he takes Clara out to the TARDIS, and then they basically pull a Here, like you said earlier. It's very, for those of you who aren't aware, Here is a film that's just come out, is about to come out, starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, where it's basically telling the story of one fixed point.
Yeah.
Throughout the entirety of the planet Earth.
No, well, it's I think because I think it's a Zemeckis film, by the way.
Yes,
if I'm correct.
But Tom Hanks is,
and it's it focuses on one particular they plant the camera and it goes for 100 years.
Only 100 years? I thought it went longer.
Years. Yeah,
okay.
I think it only goes for 100 years. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard the pitch as. And so...
Well, think of it... Think of this... This is the same, but on steroids. Because the Doctor goes for, the beginning of the Earth, through the prehistoric era, to the Victorian era, to the end of the Earth.
Yeah.
And, of course, like every other character in the history of Doctor Who, after being faced with the breath of, traveling on the TARDIS, she has her first existential crisis.
Yeah.
Her first of many existential crises.
Are you truly a companion of the Doctor?
If you don't have an existential crisis, no.
Well, that plus, if you don't feel the overbearing and undeniable weight of the breadth of existence and just how everything is temporary and everything's going to come to an end eventually, then are you truly a companion of the Doctor?
Are you truly time traveling?
You have to live with that.
Yep.
It's just one of the facts. It's there's a beginning and an end, and so.
No, so the thing and so tied into this is we get this subplot about how the good Professor Palmer is this badass soldier who like did all this stuff with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah, and
I'm
what
like,
else was it? He was also in what the fuck was it?
They're like setting him up as this cross between Ian Fleming and Christopher Lee.
Yeah, the Baker Street Originals or some shit.
Yeah, it's like the Baker Street Irregulars. It's like they do all this stuff, portray him as this fucking badass, and then he does fuck all in this episode.
I feel like the whole reason that they did that was to add sexual tension between him and his
between him and Emma because
then there's a line later on in the show or in the episode where he's talking about how once you've seen all these different things happening in the world, you've borne witness to all these horrible things, you start hiding things and you start lying about things and lying about yourself, and then like they do this weird thing with their fingers, and I'm just like, for God's sake. But like, it's like,
just get to it.
I know, but like, for me, it was like, show don't tell.
I know. Here's the thing. With both of the prominent secondary characters, Alec Palmer and Emma,
yeah,
I want to see more of their backstories. I mean, first of all, a professor who was part of the Baker Street Irregulars and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, war hero, like, give me more of that. And then also Emma, who's a psychic and empath, who literally can summon fucking ghosts? Give me more of that. That could have been its own spin-off series, and I fucking would have watched it every goddamn week.
You know who they needed to, like, honestly, they needed to link up with at one point is, what's the lesbian couple? The Victorian era lesbian couple in Doctor Who?
Oh, Jenny and Madame Vastra?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I totally would see that.
Can you imagine a double date with those two?
Ooh. That would have been an interesting crossover episode.
They would have had a lot to talk about. Just saying.
Oh, no, it's such wasted potential. Honestly, we could have gotten more than one episode out of this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And honestly, the overall story would have been so much better served had we gotten more.
I will say I would have honestly loved to delve more into them, and I honestly think what's the fucking what's that season 6 episode? It's like the Impossible Flesh or whatever. You know that 2-parter?
Yeah.
It's whatever. It was basically like spoilers. It was the backstory that was needed in order to justify the whole Amy Pond wasn't actually Amy Pond this whole time because she was kidnapped by iPad.
The Impossible Astronaut?
No, it was the one where like it was all the goo people.
Oh God. Jesus, I can never remember.
I can't remember that either, but like long story short, I would have much rather seen a 2-parter of this than 2-parter of that because that shit was so boring.
That's, you know what, and honestly, that's what I'm saying, Brian, is that, and we've said this in previous episodes, is that really the greatest sin of science fiction is that you bore me.
Yeah.
Right? And so the greatest sin in Doctor Who is you have all of time and space and you fucking bore me. That is the greatest sin you can commit.
I agree.
And this episode has so much going for it, and yet, by the end, they've so massively stumbled that by the end, we are literally... I remember there was a point where we were about 45 minutes into this episode, right?
Yeah.
And you paused it and said to me, you know what, honestly, I don't know what it is. I want to get to the end of this episode, but not because not because I want to see the end. I just want it to be over. I'm that bored. I'm like, yeah, it's the sunk cost fallacy. Like, we've already invested so much time into this episode.
Yeah.
That we're like, okay, well, we can't stop now. We have to justify finishing.
It just, I don't know. It was like, there was this whole thing with, like, oh, it's not actually a ghost, it's a time traveler, and then they go in there and like the whole, I don't know, there's this whole thing about
The Rebel Flesh, by the way, is the episode you were referring to.
I can't stand that episode. I'm sorry, that 2-parter sucks.
The Rebel Flesh, then the Almost People.
Even if there's that bit where like 11 goes through like the motions of like all his past selves or whatever, that's a cool point. But like everything else, I'm like, this fucking sucks. But
no, it's
the point that I'm trying to make about this is like we spend so much time focusing on what the ghost is supposed to be. We find out what it is. We're told, hey, the TARDIS can't go in there, and then the TARDIS goes in there anyways.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so
I mean, I honestly, it's
and then the Doctor's stuck in there, and like now I'm like, okay, I genuinely don't give a fuck because like you've already rescued the person that needs help.
Yeah. And
now the Doctor's stuck there, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's what. First of all, the biggest stumble in this episode is that they pitch this as, oh, it's a ghost that they're trying to, which again, that whole concept of is there life after death, the metaphysical versus the physical, right? That drew me in, right? And then it turns out, oh, it's a crashed time traveler in a pocket dimension, and the walls of reality are bleeding through, and she's trying to get back to this side of the dimension reality. And I'm like, fuck you.
The idea that the Doctor, who like by this point now, like at least in the series, I have no idea what the Doctor's actual age is, and
like 1,000 years old. He's over 1,000 years old at that point.
I'm talking about like nowadays, but like whatever.
Oh, like 1,500.
It's something like that.
Well, actually, that depends on if you take when Capaldi was in the Crystal Tower, and
I don't know,
because that was like billions of years.
Yes. So okay, well, my point being,
yes,
the Doctor, having seen all the things that the Doctor has seen at this point, right? They have seen a lot, and I'm saying they because 13 exists now, so like whatever. But the thing is, the Doctor has seen a lot, and so for the Doctor to show up and be genuinely excited about ghosts and actually like have this belief that there might be something happening with ghosts, and like it's played off that like he's not going, oh, this is all bullshit and I can explain it and here's why. He's genuinely fascinated by the idea of like, the afterlife and like spiritual phenomena and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's really interesting. I really want to see what he thinks, because even the Doctor has to think that there's stuff in the universe that's unexplainable.
Yeah.
And so he
literally gets giddy when that happens.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this doesn't operate by any of the laws of physics that are currently in our universe, but it's also because that's just the nature of ghosts, and he's excited about ghosts. I wanted that.
Yeah.
And instead we get this bullshit story about how there's a pocket dimension that doesn't, whatever.
But again, that also pisses me off because he's dealt with parallel dimensions, pocket dimensions before. So the fact that he just didn't instantly clock that fucking throws in the face of about 40 years worth of television.
Yeah.
Like, how did you, like, you can't just turn around and be like, oh, it's a pocket universe. How did you not know that? How many times have you dealt with parallel universes bleeding through into our... You can't pretend like you don't know what the fuck is going on. You cannot do that. You son of a bitch.
I agree.
So, all right, so like he goes into the pocket dimension, he rescues the time traveler, he gets stuck because Emma basically, he creates this device which amplifies Emma's psychic power to link up with the ghost, or in this context now, the time traveler in the pocket dimension, right? Mm-hmm. So they're able to open a wormhole between the two realities. The Doctor runs in, saves the time traveler, but is lost himself. Clara runs to the TARDIS, and the TARDIS, obviously they're still doing that. Oh, the TARDIS doesn't like Clara, blah, blah, blah. That was I'll admit, not my favorite
Subplot.
storytelling, not my favorite subplot of the series, of any Doctor Who series.
Like the underlying, like, one of the subplots of the entire season is like
that. I mean, their entire run together is that the TARDIS is a jealous girlfriend that, you know, the TARDIS is a jealous dog and is pissed off that her owner is not paying enough attention to her versus the new stray that just came in.
I mean,
I hate using terminology like that, but that's really kind of how it is.
That's kind of how it is. I mean, I don't know.
Because that's the thing. The TARDIS has literally used that terminology before. You bring home strays.
Now, did that cool off in Capaldi's run? I can't remember. Because Capaldi was like...
I want to say yes.
I want to say yes, too, honestly. Because, like, Capaldi's Doctor... Not that we're talking about Capaldi's run or anything, but, like... He made it very clear that he did not have, like, this version of himself, anyways, did not have any kind of
romantic attachment to Clara, yeah.
Whatsoever. 11 probably, most assuredly did, but, like...
Sure. But then again, 11 was trying to fuck all of his companions.
Well, sure. I mean, Rory included, probably. But
you can't look at those. You can't look at Arthur Darvill and tell me you wouldn't fuck that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean that chisel jaw, that nose. Yeah,
that look, like, you know, that look in his first episode where it's like, you were an extra on the UK Office, weren't you?
Yeah. Or what do you call it? That, you know, that thought that, you know, this man will wait 2,000 years for me in front of a box. And protect me.
Box.
Yeah, that man will wait 2,000 years for my box. Oh God!
Anyways.
All right, but it's and then, like, literally we push through, and then we find out, of all things. So the Doctor creates this psychic device to amplify Emma's psychic powers. He gets lost, and then the Professor says but doesn't say in so many words that he loves Emma, but doesn't quite say that he loves Emma, but obviously Emma being an empath, she fucking gets it.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, the words don't need to be said, but she puts the gear back on and, like, tries and reopens the link. Clara gets back to the TARDIS and fucking goes in. Although, so Clara has this argument with the TARDIS, and the TARDIS is like, I'm not... Like, she's like, we got to go to this pocket dimension. And she's like, the pocket dimension would literally drain me of all my energy. Within 8 seconds, I would be unable to return. Within 10 seconds, I would be dead. Right? And I'm like, I was counting. They were obviously traveling into that pocket dimension way longer than 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know if it's 8 seconds within the pocket dimension or 8 seconds traveling to said pocket dimension. They're not really being clear on that, so I'm just going to go ahead and say, fine, whatever.
It's big enough that I can be like, you win this time. Whatever. I don't care.
So basically, the TARDIS comes whipping through, the Doctor grabs onto it, and again, I didn't think something was supposed to survive holding on to the time vortex, but except for Jack, because Jack did it.
But also, Jack is immortal, so...
Jack is immortal. The Doctor, not so much.
He's
less
immortal than Jack.
Unless there was a force field, or whatever. We're taking a lot of scientific liberties here.
Yeah.
Which, fine. Okay, so then he gets back, everyone's safe.
That's the problem with this episode, is that there's so many, like...
They take so many liberties and they don't bother
There's so many established rules, not just in the continuity of Doctor Who, but in this episode, that they just don't fucking follow.
No, yeah. And
which is part of the reason why I got so bored with this, because I'm like, well, if you're literally going to tell me that, like, the TARDIS is not going to last 8 seconds, but you go in there anyways, and it's very obviously over 8 seconds that you've been in there trying to get the Doctor out, then why the fuck should I care about any kind of stakes in this episode?
Yeah, exactly.
I shouldn't.
I mean, as soon as the TARDIS said, 8 seconds, I won't be able to return, 10 seconds, I'll be dead. I'm like,
it's just
they're going to bring him.
It's just piss poor writing.
It is.
I'm sorry. It just is.
It totally is. And and then we get to the end where it turns out they come back, and we find out that the reason why Emma was able to open this portal between the worlds is because, lo and behold, Gila Tokorian and Emma are related. Gila is a distant relative of both the professor and Emma.
Cool.
Right, so good news, they fuck eventually.
Okay.
And they're like, and then obviously the professor's like, wait, how the fuck does this work? Because, and he's like, oh yeah, paradoxes, they fucking work themselves out. Which I'm like, again, like going back to your point, is like the biggest bullshit explanation ever. Like, you're breaking so many of your own rules.
Also, one of the things that you say, like, okay, so,
I get the doctor lies,
hold
but
on,
fucking...
hold the fuck on.
All right.
Hold on. Sorry.
No.
I get what you're saying, but, like, also, there's this. Paradoxes work themselves out.
Sure.
And in, like, the same breath, he's also saying, oh, there's fixed points in time. You can't go back home because you've been listed as a missing person.
Yep.
So, let me get this straight. This paradox, which is basically, I'm coming back from the future to tell you both in less words, and I didn't even know this, that, you know, you're gonna put your goof juice in her, you know, hoo-ha or whatever, and that's eventually gonna make me, and then I'm gonna come back here, and I guess I'm gonna hang out in 1974 because by proxy, like, because there's a missing person thing, like, okay, why is that a fixed point in time? How is that a fixed point in time? Is it a fixed point in time because those two wouldn't have actually boinked if, like, they didn't have proof that, like, oh, we're gonna generate offspring that's gonna live on into the far future? Like,
Also, you've essentially broken the causality loop because essentially one assumes that had the doctor not interfered, they eventually would have fucked
Sure.
And their progeny would have eventually developed and so on and so forth until Tokorian was born, right?
Sure.
Okay, but now that we know, doesn't that fuck the entire timeline up? Because if they have sex earlier or later, they don't know the situation in which that progeny is created.
Sure, I guess.
So again, the question, it's basically, they've created such a...
We're talking an awful lot about sex on a Doctor Who podcast.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it's 11.
I'm just saying.
It's 11. 11's probably the horniest of them all.
10, motherfucker.
I didn't say... Oh, no, 10's horny. Do not get me wrong. But I'd say out of all of them, 11 is the one who gets himself into more... okay, no, you're right. No,
I don't care
10 is the horniest, followed very closely by 11.
I do not care that 11 fucked Marilyn Monroe. 10 is way hornier.
No, you're right. No, 10 is hornier, and honestly more successfully hornier than 11. Just 11 is a little bit more, like, unashamed about it.
Yeah.
He's like fucking... okay, so but moving away from that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, first, and let's talk about this fucking creature who never gets a name.
Nope.
Never gets a name. Like, they list him as the Crooked Man in the credits.
Okay.
And I'm like, that phrase was not used ever in this episode, right? And then we find out that, oh, there's a pair of them. One is still here. Like, one is in our physical reality. The other one is trapped in said pocket dimension. And, oh, it's a dual love story because the other creature is its mate and wants to come back to the universe to be reunited. So, even though Matt Smith has twice had to tell this poor empath/psychic, oh, I've driven you to the brink of physical and mental pain so that I can go rescue this person, I kind of need you to do it again so I can get this monster creature to get back into this universe so it can fuck with its mate. And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
That's it! That is literally the end of the episode, and how did they think this was good? I mean, again, they stumble so hard in the third act And it's so frustrating.
Do you know what I think honestly happened?
What?
I honestly...
Tell me what happened, Daddy.
So obviously, there's a couple of things at play here. First and foremost, they split season 7 into 2 parts, right? They had like the 5 episodes basically saying goodbye to the pawns, right? They got rid of them in Angels Take Manhattan, which I'm sure we'll talk about sometime, because believe me,
some point, yeah.
I have plenty of opinions about that episode, but then, we get like that special and we start getting introduced to Clara and all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. They were also really heavily investing in the 50th anniversary season, or the 50th anniversary special, right? So a lot of things had to kind of be at play, and like...
So quality fell by the wayside.
This feels very much like we have a quota of episodes that we have to fulfill, and some of these episodes are going to be better than others. We really need to nail like the premiere episode, The Bells of St. John, and then we really need to nail... what is it? What was the name of that? The name of the doctor. We really need to nail those 2 episodes, and then everything else in between, like, we'll figure it out. And some episodes are good. Some episodes are Hyde.
Yeah.
And it felt like whatever. We just need to make an episode, and like, ooh, this one's going to be the spooky ghost episode of the season.
I mean, yeah, I'll say this much.
Which, by the way, you know what's a better ghost episode than this one? That 9th Doctor episode with Charles Dickens.
Yeah, I agree.
Way better episode.
Yeah, but again, it's 9, so...
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, it was a better... they weren't being rushed to, make for the 50th.
Yeah.
Because this was the relaunch, and this was like, oh, if we don't want to get canceled... Shit's got to be on point.
Yeah, we got to make this good.
All right. So, we're going to go into the ratings. The ratings for Hyde. Episode ratings, scores are A+ through F.
Yeah.
We're on the high school grading system. All right, plot. Brian, I think kind of together we came up with a C rating overall.
Yeah.
Because we said... if you take everything from just the first half, it's a B+ episode, right?
Yes.
Then once you introduce the time travel pocket dimension convoluted bloodline story, the quality takes a massive nosedive and drops it to a D-. So I think we said to average out, we said a C all round.
Yes.
For the episode. Plot started great, ended poorly. We're being nice and just giving it the average.
Yes.
Okay. Characters, C-. Because here's the thing. Normally you have multiple characters here and there. In this context, you have 3 main characters and then the villain, if you even want to call it that.
Yeah.
You have Professor Palmer, again, World War II badass. And you have Emma, the psychic empath. And then you have Hila Tokorian, time traveler, trapped in a pocket dimension. I mean, first of all...
My biggest problem with all of these characters...
Yes.
...is, and this is something that...
Little to no development.
Yeah, little to no development, and also, this is a rule that I try and follow whenever we're working on, like, a project, or, like, I'm acting, or, like, we're writing something, or whatever. Show, don't tell. Don't tell me he's a badass. Show me he's a badass.
Yeah.
If there's something happening that requires his skills, or like, hey, I had the prior knowledge or know-how to whatever to do this, then fucking show him doing that.
Yeah.
But instead, he does nothing.
I mean, really, the closest thing we get is him pontificating in a dark room with the doctor about how I killed men, I sent men into battle. I'm like, dude, fucking show me some clips of that then. Shit.
Right?
Give me something. And then Emma, again, I mean, she's like the wide-eye assistant falling in love with the elder professor. I mean, again, it's a story we've seen time and time again. Yeah. But again, not from somebody who can fucking crack dimensions with their mind. And I'm like, oh, how about like some backstory? Like, when did she start When did she start communicating with ghosts? When did she start developing psychic powers?
Was this something that happened at school that she was really embarrassed by? Or, like, did she get in trouble with it because of her mom? It's like, stop being weird? Like,
Yeah,
we don't
like,
know.
get me some fuck... Like, this is...
How did he discover her?
Yeah, this is one of those episodes that would have been better as a two-parter because we could have gotten the necessary character development in episode 1 left on the cliffhanger when the doctor realizes it's not a ghost. It's because then you could, yeah, if you had 2 episodes, then that discovery of it not being a ghost but a time traveler stuck in a parallel pocket dimension, that would have made more sense in that context.
I completely agree.
It's just, but again, like you said, it's the latter half. They got so much shit they gotta cram into like 5 or 6 episodes to get you to the 50th. But for reasons passing understanding, like you said, they had to make quota, and this suffered as a result.
This is one of the very few times that I've sat down and watched like an episode of something like with Doctor Who or anything and gone, this should have been a 2-parter.
Yes. Like, I actively want it. Like, again, having gone through all of John Pertwee's first series serials, and all of them being 4+ episodes, or like 4 episodes, 5 episodes, 6 episodes, 7 episodes, and we were like, Christ, this could have been cut in half and would have been fine. Whereas this was the exact opposite. This was... You are not giving us enough, and you are taking away any interest I have in giving a fuck. How do you... Again, you've had 30 years to fucking get this right. How are you still fucking up on this fundamental? How? Make it make sense! Alright, settings. I honestly... Okay, so this was great because settings, I think is probably getting the highest grade of it all. I think we gave settings we gave settings a B, but that's still pretty high because, quite frankly, where they shot this episode is fucking incredible. They shot this at Margam Country Park, Gethin Forest, and it's a National Trust property in Tinsfield. It's a Victorian Gothic revival country house and estate near Wraxall, North Somerset, England. This thing literally looks like the X-Men mansion. And we literally commented, it's like, oh, they shot Doctor Who at the X-Mansion. Not really, because they didn't shoot it at Castle Loma, but whatever. Probably one of the nicer, older buildings.
I mentioned Wayne Manor personally, but
it's got that aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
And that's cool as hell. And again, even though technically speaking, they were sort of in the one location, just, again, the Doctor goes from, like, the formation of the Earth to the end of the Earth, etc.
Yeah.
It's interesting to a point, and it's enjoyable, and there's enough... I mean, again, it's basically the house and the woods surrounding the house, but it's interesting, and I like it.
I just had a really random thought, by the way.
Okay.
Considering how many times... the Doctor, in whatever incarnation he or she is in, or they are in, they go to, like, the planet as, like, it is on its last legs. How many Doctors feasibly might be on the planet Earth when 9 takes Rose in the second episode to see the Earth be destroyed? How many Doctors do you think are like?
Well, because the Doctor, because 11 was actually on the planet's surface. So if the Earth was at a point where it was going to fracture, 11 wouldn't have gone to that point. He would have gone to well before that point.
Sure,
but uninhabited at least.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know.
I'd say probably none. Sure,
fair enough. I'm just saying, like, it was kind of a cool thought, but it's probably none.
Probably none. Now, would I say, oh, are there other Doctors in proximity of that moment? Like, there, but, like, at different locations, not to cross the streams, to say. Maybe. Possibly. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that, like, the formation of the Earth, the end of the Earth, it seems like both of those moments are sort of like... Because, again, most of his companions are human. So, obviously... the creation of the planet which we sprung from and the destruction of the planet we were sprung from, sort of moments of grandeur for us dirt dwellers.
Yes.
So I understand that taking us to those points would be.
It's for the Doctor. It's kind of. I'll tell you exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
And you're gonna laugh at this, and I know
I'm
exactly
sure I
what
will.
you're gonna say. But not because you're gonna think it's funny. The Doctor taking his companions to see the beginnings of the Earth and the destruction of the Earth. It's kind of like somebody from Denver taking somebody out of town to Casa Bonita. It's just something that you do.
Yeah.
It's just something that you do. Hey, you've never been to Denver? Well, okay, cool. We're going to Casa Bonita.
Yeah, it's like, I want to show you this cool shit. Yeah. It's the creation of your planet. I want to show you this cool shit. It's the destruction of your planet.
And for him, it's very much the same. Oh, well, I gotta take you to that.
It's not because, let me put it this way. Using your analogy, it is very similar because what you're doing is, say you take me to Casa Bonita, right? Mm-hmm. You're not taking me to Casa Bonita because you want me to try Casa Bonita. What you want is you want to see my reaction to Casa Bonita.
Yes.
You want me to see the wonder of Casa Bonita through your eyes.
Yes.
Right. Because again, you want to view my reaction, my enjoyment, my reaction to this.
Your unfiltered, pure, 100% honest to God reaction.
And yes, you're right. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
It's like he does that because he wants to view the wonder seen in their eyes of that. Yeah. So like when they have that conversation later where Clara's having her existential crisis, he's like, oh, humanity's just, the puzzle I haven't quite figured out yet.
Well, wait, is he talking about, what about Clara though?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Clara.
Clara, not humanity, but like her, because like...
No. Not he. In that context, he's referring to humanity, not Clara.
Okay. By the way, just a quick aside, because we were talking about, again, this episode's been all over the place. If and when we do go, thank God you will not have to suffer the food that we had to suffer in the 90s. But anyways, moving forward, because it's way better now.
Okay.
Anyways,
thank you. So those of you who are interested, Casa Bonita got way better food.
Yeah. The follow-up on the Two Fat Guys Eat episode where we go to Casa Bonita.
There you go.
Anyways.
All right. So was the Doctor effective in this episode? Yes.
Are you sure?
I would say this episode, thus far, of the ones we've reviewed, is the episode where he had the least resistance. He showed up. He said he was with the government. This guy...
Believed him. Just straight up went along with him.
Believed him. I think the only person who put up even a hint of defiance was Emma, and that wasn't even to the Doctor. That was to Clara saying, don't trust him. Don't trust him. He's got ulterior motives. But then immediately when he says, hey, I'm going to give you this device. It's going to amplify your powers. You're going to basically open up a gap in the universes, right?
Which is basically the Doctor Who version of Cerebro.
Yeah. And she's like, is it going to hurt? He's like, no, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably actually going to be excruciating, but I need you to do it. And she's just like, all right.
I move for a vote of no confidence.
Yeah, right? So, I would honestly say A-. This is probably the most effective he's been at this point.
Sure.
And I don't mean that in the context of, it's not like he hasn't been as effective in other episodes. I'm just saying in this context, he's not saving the universe, but he got everything done without anybody dying or anybody being permanently disfigured.
Let's be perfectly honest about, or be clear about what it is we're actually saying when we say this. It's not so much that the Doctor is or is not effective, because yes, there are times when the Doctor is not effective at what he's doing and like shit just rolls downhill, but then ultimately, the idea is that the Doctor does save the day. What we're talking about is whether or not he's effective at, basically getting in there saying, hey, I'm trying to fix this problem, and not getting any kind of side-eye or pushback or somebody saying, I'm in charge here.
Yeah.
Like we did with fucking Pertwee when we last recorded.
Yeah.
Like that shit happened all the time, and I just wanted to slap the shit out of these people.
Yeah.
And
because they're fucking stupid.
And here, it's like, okay, no, I believe you, let's go ahead, and I want to hear what you have to say, because I guess you have enough proof that you are who you are,
Yeah.
even whoever the fuck you are.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess, like...
Now, I'll say he was effective. Now, the only thing I would say, the only reason why this is a minus instead of an A plus, excuse me, is because, honestly, it's really, he got in his own way when it came to not being able to clock a ghost versus a entity from a pocket dimension.
Sure.
And again, so I mean that's the difference between A plus, A minus. You know? I think his generational ADD finally kind of overtook him.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice that? No joke, I think the Doctor has some form of ADHD. Because the thing is like, the man meanders. He doesn't really have 100% focus at all times. He drifts point to point.
That is fair. That is true. And
I'm not saying it isn't endearing. I mean, he like literally gets shit done. So
I would say, if I would, at least in conversation, if I'm any Doctor, it's 11.
Yeah.
I'd
go with that.
I very much get excited about something, and then I'm reminded of something else, and then
you're off to the races.
I'm off to the fucking races.
Yep.
Proof that you need. Listen to this episode.
Yeah. Literally, we went from Doctor Who to Casa Bonita.
Yes.
And back. Yeah. So, all right, gadgets. So, I do love how the beginning of this episode starts as like a way better financed episode of Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
Because we've got spirit photography. We've got all this tech.
And you know what's
it's
cool
all
about
human
it?
tech, mind you.
You know what's cool about it too?
Yeah.
It's fucking analog.
Yes, which I definitely approve.
That was cool.
That was cool. But then not only that, we have fucking... Okay, so again, the blue crystal that's used to power the machine to focus Emma's psychic energy utilizes a blue crystal from Metabolist 3, which John Pertwee's Doctor took from the planet. So he took the blue crystal from Metabolist 3 in Green Death and returned it in Planet of the Spiders when he became the 4th Doctor. So we get a callback to the 3rd Doctor.
Sweet.
Right? And then also he mentions the Eye of Harmony, which was introduced in The Deadly Assassin. I believe also Pertwee's run.
I think so.
Is either... No. What was
Why does that sound
no,
like
No, it's... You know what? Deadly Assassin is Baker's run.
It's Baker's run.
It's Baker's run because it was 76.
I had a feeling that was actually 5's run.
No. Because 5 didn't hit till...
79, 80?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, 11 puts on the orange spacesuit that 10 wore in the Impossible Planet, the Satan Pit, and then wore in the waters of Mars.
Yep.
When he was out taking photos in the before and after of the Earth.
Which I believe later gets worn by 12 when there's that whole, the moon is actually a dragon egg or some shit.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So, interesting. Nice to see the callbacks. So, honestly, on tech, I'm going to give it a B-. It's great. I mean, again, it's really just used for the one-off and a couple of callbacks, but not bad. Could be better, though.
Yes, and I do
if
realize...
it was integral, I mean, more integral to the plot is what I was looking for.
And I do realize, I just realized as we're recording this, I apologize if I'm not giving mine, but I did give beforehand, I did give what my ratings are. So if I didn't say those, I do apologize. I think we did come to a consensus, though, at the very least.
Yes.
So that's why I haven't really said, because, we're coming to...
You know what? That's fair.
So...
special effects. I think we gave this a C overall rating because we liked the practical effect of the
Crooked Man.
I guess, whatever
the fuck it's called.
Yeah, because normally we get at least some description of what these fucking alien creatures are, but we didn't even get that, or not even a fucking you're the Crooked Man, or something like that. It was just a name that the author put in, but then forgot to write a line of dialogue for.
Here's this weird Leviathan horror that looks like it would not be out of place in Zelda Majora's Mask.
Or honestly, I thought it was like a fucking Resident Evil reject.
Fair enough. That
It
too.
It literally looked like a fucking raccoon city infested.
Like definitely Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
And like
Resident Evil Nemesis.
Yeah, and so like the fact that like, oh, this thing is lonely and it misses its partner, I'm like, oh, okay.
That's adorable.
I guess, yeah.
Look, we've already got enough saccharine love story in this fucking episode. We don't need another one.
Yeah, and the effects again were
none were bad. It's just again, it wasn't great. I mean, really, the only difference between the Pocket universe and this universe was someone threw the blur filter on and then set it to, like, I don't know, a sort of, not a sepia tone, but sort of a Instagram filter wash for the entire fucking time.
Yeah. I will say, for 2013, which it's so weird to talk about it like it's the past, and it's like 11 years ago now, and I feel fucking old.
Don't we all?
Considering the fact that you had, like, I want to say Captain America Winter Soldier was in theaters at that time. Bless you.
Sorry.
You know, this, at least for, like, a TV show, like, I'm not saying that it's, like, on the same level, but, like, it holds up enough that, like, you could look at both of them and go, like, yeah, they're of similar quality, I guess.
I mean, again, it's not bad. Again, but also, how much money was the Beeb pumping into Doctor Who at that point?
Oh God, I have no idea. I'm willing to.
I mean, this is one of the episodes leading up to the 50th. I'm just saying, in my mind, it looks like it could have been better. You know?
Yeah. Let me see.
All right.
The budget for season 7 of Doctor Who was a big increase. Let's see here. I'm not sure, and I don't have it like readily in front of me, but
no,
it does look
I'm just
like
saying.
Yeah, there was. It was a far cry from like having like one soundstage in a back lot that overheated in 1960. What?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like we're talking like a factor of 10 to like 50 difference between the two.
Oh yeah,
and that's understandable. But again, in that context, I did not see that production value. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't great. And I've seen better in that season.
I have too.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, where was the stumble there? Was it the stumble on like production's part? Was it the stumble in the video effects booth? Or was it just the writers couldn't coalesce a narrative well enough to create this sort of, oh, this is what I'm envisioning. I can't really I can't rationalize the thought to the FX artist, you know?
Here's the problem I have with Doctor Who. Okay. Aside from like the opener and the finale, yes, there are things, and they have done this better in the past, and they've done it like since this, but my problem is that there are episodes that if you just remove them wholly from that season or series, it does not affect the story whatsoever. It does not affect the byline or the through line of like the Doctor started here and he winds up here. You could absolutely not tell this story and okay, I missed nothing.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, it's like, okay, I feel like the writers aren't really putting their A game into that, and they're literally just trying to pump out a script so they can like make sure that they're meeting quota.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's what's bothering me about this episode.
I really love a serialized story.
I will say I like the practical effects of this episode.
Yeah.
For what it was. So I'm giving it a plus in that context.
Yes.
So that's why it's getting a B-. I mean, that's why gadgets wise it's getting a B-.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, gadgets wise it got a B-. Special effects, I mean, there wasn't, like, gadgets wise it got a B-. Special effects, there wasn't enough going on it to make me think, oh, this deserves to be in the B range, you know?
Yeah.
So All right. I think the final category is technobabble, and this honestly was pissing us both off at this point because there was, again, we were so annoyed at the concept of it not being ghost in the metaphysical, but actually a pocket dimension, but then we're given no real explanation of what the difference between a parallel dimension and a pocket dimension is, except with the time dilation difference.
Yeah.
And that, a pocket universe could collapse in 3 minutes. Okay. Pretty sure you guys have been talking about this longer than 3 minutes. So what, is the universe collapsed at this point? Oh, wait, no, it doesn't work within the confines of the story, so no, not 3 minutes. No, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's just like, either stick to your rules or shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't set this bullshit and then literally have it not fucking matter. It's so frustrating. And again, like you said, it's a lot of this episode has rules that just fly directly in the face of 50 years of television plus rules established within the episode itself.
Exactly.
And it's just like, don't establish these rules if you're not going to fucking follow them. What is the point in that context? Why? Again, it's just like, I get it, the Doctor is above rules and has done that before, but still, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help us take your sci-fi adventure series seriously if you're not actually going to follow the confines of your own universe. That doesn't work.
It does not. It just when again you establish what the rules are of this episode and you just consistently break them, you lose my interest, because then I'm like, well, then anything can happen and nothing really matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I didn't know that I was watching a Doctor Who episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
That's very good, actually. Hey, it's Doctor Who, where the plot lines are made up and the stories don't matter.
Yep.
Ugh. That genuinely bothers me. I mean, I get it. I just... Alright, so we're going to do our calculation. While we're doing our calculation of where this ends up overall, I just want to say that I'm this is by no means a horrible episode. It's leagues ahead of a Pertwee episode.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, it's also indicative of issues from that era, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it genuinely still has all of these problems and does nothing to address them, and it countermands its own established guidelines. And so it's just, it's lazy writing, half-baked ideas, all in the name of meeting quota. And I guess, again, the biggest sin in Doctor Who is boring me. When
you bore me like this, it's like,
why am I giving you this attention?
I don't want to go back and watch that episode.
No.
After the fact, and like, I had not seen this episode in such a long time that I was.
And now I realize why.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
it is bad. It is a C+ episode.
C+, okay.
I mean, that's the thing. We had an A in certain categories, but I mean, overall, it was C's, C minuses, most categories, B, B-, and an A-.
Yeah.
So on average, it equaled out to a C.
Well, here's
C+, sorry.
Here's the important thing. Yes, it's a C+. Would you recommend this episode?
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. I would tell you, if you want to be entertained during Eleven's run, even in this series,
there's better episodes.
There's way better episodes. Watch either the first episode of Series 7 or watch the last episode of Series 7.
Yeah.
Or even, I mean, again,
There's literally an episode titled Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
Yes, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Great episode. Bells of St. John.
Go
Great
have
episode.
fun.
Yeah.
You know.
It's again, there are better episodes in 11's run, even in this series. Go watch those. I'm sure we'll get to them at one point or another.
Look, if you're contemplating watching this and like you're contemplating watching the 11th Doctor's run for the first time, which cool, and you haven't already seen season 5 or series 5, maybe go check that out if like you want the full story. But also, if you're just looking for like a really awesome set of episodes, watch The Impossible Astronaut.
Yep. That's a good one.
That will tell you everything. That is the 11th Doctor's version, I think, of Blink.
Yeah.
Because that tells you everything you need to know about Doctor Who. That tells you everything that's cool about Doctor Who and the kind of rules that this show operates on.
Yeah.
And it's freaking phenomenal. This, you're going to get confused by, you're going to get pissed off at, and you're going to be like, I don't want to watch this anymore. So, if you're going to
avoid.
Avoid this, especially if you're a newbie.
We've seen, let's put it this way. We've seen worse, but goddamn, there is better.
Oh, yes.
I mean, that could be a third subtitle to this episode. It's a boo how scary, just fuck already, or...
Yeah, I got it. Mid.
Yeah, mid. One word. Mid. So, well, Brian, it's time to hit the Doctor Who randomizer to get our next episode.
Fantastic.
Are you ready? Now, Brian, I want to recall, and I want you to understand, you have burned your mulligan.
For like the entirety of the show now?
No, I'll tell you what. I think we gotta space it out. So, again, but what we're doing now is we're doing all episodes and the Doctor Who movie. So,
yes.
Everything.
How about this?
All right.
Let's do this like Survivor rules where like okay, if you play your shot in the dark or if you like you lose your vote, it's like, you know, whatever it is that you play, the next tribal council you're not able to whatever. So like since I used my mulligan
the last
episode,
one, that's
fine.
I
have forfeited my...
You forfeited the right to complain this time.
But then next time, it's back up for grabs.
You know what? I'll go with that rule. Shake.
All right. Fantastic.
We shake on it. You heard it here first, folks. All right, here we go. The Doctor Who randomizer. For our next episode of Impromptu Who, we will be reviewing...
What do we got?
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. You actually lucked out because we actually got stuck with Doctor Who and the Silurians, which we've already reviewed.
Okay.
So, good news, you get a reprieve. Here we go.
Okay.
So again, Doctor Who and our next Doctor Who story will be
big money, no whammies.
The Bells of St. John.
Yeah! All right.
So good news, folks. You wanted to see a good 11 story.
Here we go.
You're about to get one. So our next episode will be on The Bells of St. John. And we thank you for listening. We thank you for spending almost another hour listening to us bitch about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So remember, folks, doesn't matter if you like the old or the new, it's Impromptu Who.
Impromptu Who is a Castwave Studios production. For other shows and more, please visit castwavestudios.com.